Hey synths, today we're going to be talking about how much gear is too much gear and if that's even a possibility. Hi, I'm Pure Ambient Drone and this is my channel where I talk about synthesizers. I demo them, I review them, and I make electronica music. So if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button and tap that bell for notifications and let's get on with the video. Hi, welcome back. And we are here attempting to answer the question of how much gear is too much gear and whether or not that's even a possibility. Well, I want to get straight to the point. I like doing that in my videos as much as possible without rambling on, so let's get into it. First of all, I want you to ask yourself a question because this question pertains to you, not to me, right? And that's why you're watching this video, because you have a self-interest in this topic. So let's look at it this way. You have to ask yourself, are your synthesizers your hobby or your profession or both? Now, if they're your profession, you have to make up your mind how much gear you want and how much can you afford. You also have to ask yourself how much gear do you want before your professional creativity is affected by it. Now, let me explain this a little bit. Let's go to the professional side of things first. If you are making money with your gear, you have to ask yourself how much do you need in your palette of sounds to achieve where you're going professionally and where you're already at, okay? So if you have too much gear, you could get into a too many choices syndrome. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. I don't know. I like this synthesizer, but I love this synthesizer. But this synthesizer has what I need, and this synthesizer is fun to play with. Too many choices. I'm going to go sit down and have a donut. And I have been there, okay? And what happens in a professional situation where you're making money with your gear is that your needs can change all the time. And you have to be ready to have the gear you need to make a client happy, okay? So you don't want to be caught with your pants down by not having enough gear. But you also don't want to be working with your gear and having way too many choices and not knowing where to begin and get into what I call a depression of gluttony. That's where you have too much of a certain thing and you get depressed because you just don't know what to do with it all. Or your needs have changed and you feel this drag on you because you have all this stuff. Now that's in a professional sense, and professional creativity is different than creativity that comes from just doing it as a hobby. Now, if you're doing this as a hobby, well, you probably want to collect as many synthesizers as you can and show them off to your friends and your family and to anyone else who will appreciate it and make YouTube videos. And that's great if it's a hobby and you could afford to do it. In that case, I know some people might disagree with this, but if it's your hobby, you can't have too many of them, especially if you're investing wisely. And let's face it, folks, a lot of people buy synthesizers as a hobby, just like people collect stamps, they collect coins, they collect a lot of different items. So you have to ask yourself, am I doing this professionally? Am I doing this as a hobby? But let's look at it if it's both. Now, this is the danger zone, okay? This is the danger zone. Woman once told me a story of a man that she was married to who was an alcoholic, and he bought a liquor store. Now, he bought a liquor store because he was a good businessman, very good at drinking liquor as well. And his profession became his hobby. And he literally drank himself to death. Now, I'm not coming down on anybody who has a few drinks here and there. That's not what this is about. So let's not take this wrong and go political with it. It's just a story. It's a true story. It's a real story. But it can ring some common sense into our heads if we listen closely enough to what happened to the guy who took his profession, who he loved as a hobby, and married the two of them together. Very, very dangerous, because what happens is, as you're trying to make a living doing this, you want to have fun. You absolutely have to have fun while you're making a living doing this. But if you turn it into a hobby and you don't watch yourself, everything that you're working for can become the very thing that becomes the weight on your back that holds you down. So you get to the point where you have too much gear. Too much gear happens when, one, your creativity is stifled because you have too many choices. Number two, your money is tied up in synthesizers because you got yourself into debt with credit cards and pay-as-you-play plans, as some online retailers allow you to do. Nothing wrong with credit cards, nothing wrong with pay-as-you-play plans as long as they're used responsibly. I'm just saying you have too much gear if you're running up debt to get there. You have too much gear if you're not paying your bills on time or at all because you bought a synthesizer or some other type of gear that goes with it. You have too much gear if you're just not using it and just sitting around. You have too much gear if you don't know how to use all of your gear. And it's just, again, sitting around or not being used to its fullest potential. So too much gear can become a financial hindrance, it can become a stress factor, it can become an emotional factor, and there's another reason why you may have too much gear, and that's space. Maybe your gear is overtaking your entire house, your bedroom studio, wherever your studio is. You just don't have the space anymore. You're tripping over everything, you're running into everything. Now, if you look around at my studio right now, and if you were back here with me, you would see a lot of wires and some speakers, and it's just a really big mess in here, and there's a reason why. Because in the last couple of weeks, things have shifted for me professionally, okay? And some new doors have opened up for me, and I have realized that I'm going to have to change directions in where I am going financially with my synthesizers for my own income purposes. And so I have decided that I'm going to be slimming down some of my gear, slimming it down, because I need to make room for other gear where I'm going professionally, and I just don't have the room. And the newer gear that I'm getting, which I will talk about, okay, will overlap what I already have. But I will tell you this, there are 2 additions to my studio, and I still have to do a studio tour. The reason why I haven't done one yet is because I am still doing some rearranging. But I will tell you that I got myself a new synthesizer rack, okay, and I got myself a new synthesizer. I don't know if you can see it, probably not, but it's down here, and it is the Yamaha Montage, okay? The Yamaha Montage, I bought that, and it's going to replace a few of my digital synthesizers that I already have that I believe are kind of redundant now that I have the Yamaha Montage. But I am selling off some gear, not because I want to finance the Montage, I already have the Montage, but because I see redundance in my studio for my personal needs. So I'm going to be selling off some gear, I'm going to be moving some stuff out, and who knows, in the coming months you may see some space opened up in here and the studio make some drastic changes. I don't know, I'm still rolling around some ideas because as we speak right now, I personally think, for me, myself, and I, there is too much gear for the changes that are coming for me professionally. So I hope that this video has helped you. So I want to remind you that you can go to pureambientdrone.com, that's my website, and you can find all of my music tracks there, my social links, all of that stuff. And if you haven't already done so, I want to remind you again to subscribe because it encourages me to continue on with these videos. Now, I've been gone for a while, and I'll tell you why. My step-granddaughter suddenly died about 3 weeks ago, and it was a very, very difficult time. It still is a very difficult time, and so it took me away from just about everything. I want to thank you for watching this video, and we will see you next time. Until then, cheers.